Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and in today's video, we're going to be analyzing the 2024 presidential election prediction, but there's going to be a twist. We're going to be adding Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the independent candidate, to see whether it hurts Trump or Biden more, because there's been a lot of questions raising the fact that will Biden or Trump benefit more from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being president, because if you guys did not know already, he actually qualified on a few states' ballots, for example, Michigan, which that's going to play an important role in this year's election cycle. But before we begin with the map, make sure you guys do subscribe and click the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video instead of missing out on any of them. And also, we do have membership, so if you are looking for that, it's pinned in the comment section down below. So, let's begin with the topic of today's video. I'm going to be filling out the 2024 election map in this three-way race, which is not hypothetical. This is reality, guys. This is reality, guys. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to be present in this year's election cycle, and he's going to deal major damage to either Trump, Biden, maybe even both of them, actually, because I think he can surprise a lot of people, and I think actually a lot of people are going to vote for him more than what some people may think. I think he's going to overperform more than any independent candidate has ever done in a long time. I'm not going to say he's going to, be the best independent candidate, but he's going to do things that no independent candidate pretty much has ever done. And out of all the third-party candidates, Jill Stein, Cornel West, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I think he will probably be the best third-party candidate. I think the worst would probably be like Cornel West, and Jill Stein will probably be the second best, and RFK Jr. will be the best independent candidate. So let's see what the polls say on RCP averages on who Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to hurt more, Biden or Trump, because that's what people are wondering. And if you guys did not know, RFK himself stated that he thinks that he is hurting Donald Trump slightly more over Joe Biden, even though he said he's pretty much taking votes away from both of them equally, but he thinks that Biden is slightly benefiting from this. Now, let's see what the polls say, because the polls actually say the complete opposite of what RFK is suggesting, in which Trump is slightly getting hurt more than Biden is. So first off, let's take a look at Ohio polling. In this race with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in Ohio, he's polling at 5%, which is not the best, obviously, but Trump is polling at 10%. So that's pretty much a safe margin. Anything over 10% is considered a safe margin. So I have Ohio safe for Donald Trump, and as well as Iowa would also be safe, because in this three-way race with RFK Jr., Trump was polling at 15 points in Iowa, which is actually better than what he would poll without RFK Jr. And then moving on to Michigan. If RFK Jr. is not in this race, Donald Trump wins Michigan by a margin of 3% as of March. Now, if you factor in RFK Jr. in this race, he actually helps Trump expand his margin in Michigan. So, without RFK Jr., Trump wins Michigan by 3. With him, he wins it by 5. So when it comes to Michigan specifically, RFK Jr. actually helps Donald Trump win this state. So Trump's going to win this by a lead margin according to the polls, with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being in the race present. So take a look at Pennsylvania without RFK Jr. Trump wins this by, I would say on average, like 3%. He's up by 4%. And then a poll from Fox News, which actually was very accurate in the 2022 midterms, which actually had Fetterman up by 4, and the Senate race, which is very accurate, suggests that Trump is up by 2. So let's average this out. Let's say Trump is up by 3 without him. Now, with RFK Jr., this race actually gets narrower and tighter and closer. So with the presence of RFK Jr., we can say that it benefits Biden in Pennsylvania, but it benefits Trump in Michigan. So it really depends on the state, because according to RCP averages, with RFK Jr. being on the ballot, it helps Trump in Michigan, but it hurts Trump in Pennsylvania. So it depends on the state. Trump is barely going to win Pennsylvania with the presence of RFK Jr. by a tilt margin. Now, moving on to the next state. As for Arizona, without RFK Jr. being on the ballot, Trump wins this by a margin of 4 percentage points. Now, if you take a look at with RFK Jr. being on the ballot, which is reality because he is going to be, Trump is still up in Fox News, which, like I mentioned earlier, is actually very accurate in the 2022 midterms. Trump's up by 4%, so that margin does not actually change. So it pretty much takes away votes equally, not really more than the other. Like, it doesn't really favor a candidate. So Trump is still up by a lean margin in Arizona, so that's not going to change much. So And then Virginia actually is going to be lean for Biden. He only wins the state by 3% with the presence of RFK Jr., which is what the RCP averages suggest. Because last time Biden won the state by 10 points, and now with RFK Jr., according to RCP averages, Biden only wins it by 3%. So that's a significant decrease. And I do want to mention with the endorsement of Virginia's governor, Glenn Youngkin, I think that's going to help Trump actually. So maybe that can play a role in there too. And that's for New Hampshire. The governor of New Hampshire also endorsed Donald Trump. Chris Sununu, I believe, endorsed him. So maybe that can help. But according to polls, with RFK Jr. being in the race, Biden wins New Hampshire by 5 to 6 percentage points. And this video has nothing to do with my prediction. This is what the polls suggest if RFK Jr. is on the ballot, in which, as we all know, he is going to be, and a lot of people will be voting for him. And that's for New Mexico and Colorado. Biden wins Colorado with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being on the ballot by 7 to 8 percentage points. And then as for New Mexico, Biden only wins this by a lean margin of 6 percentage points. A little bit closer than Colorado, but Biden is still expected to win those states even with RFK Jr. on the ballot. And now moving on to Nevada. If Robert F. Kennedy is not on the ballot, Trump wins Nevada as of March by 5 percentage points. Now, in the realistic scenario with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being on the ballot, Trump expands his lead of 7 points. So he goes from 5 to 7 points if RFK Jr. is on the ballot. So actually, when specifically talking about Nevada, RFK Jr.'s presence actually helps Donald Trump. So Donald Trump benefits from RFK Jr. being on the ballot in Nevada specifically. He wins that by a likely margin of 7 percentage points. Now, as for Georgia, Trump wins this state by 7 percentage points with RFK Jr. being on the ballot, which is considered a likely margin. So RFK Jr. is definitely helping Donald Trump in this scenario, which is the complete opposite of what RFK Jr. said himself. He said specifically that he thinks that he's taking away votes from both candidates, but he's slightly hurting Donald Trump more, and Joe Biden is slightly benefiting from his presence. Well, you take a look at RCP averages, the polling suggests that RFK is wrong himself, and it actually benefits Donald Trump pretty significantly, actually. And then as for North Carolina, with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being on the ballot, Trump wins the state by staggering 10 percentage points. Now, this is great news for Donald Trump because that means he is benefiting from RFK Jr. being on the ballot. So that's actually considered a likely to safe margin. I'll leave it likely for now for the sake of this video. So that's great news for Donald Trump. And then taking a look at Wisconsin, if RFK Jr. is not on the ballot, Trump wins the state by only 4%. Now, if you factor in RFK Jr., which he will indeed be on the ballot, he's expected to, in Wisconsin, Trump expands his lead from 4 to 6 percentage points with the presence of RFK Jr. So, yeah, Trump is definitely benefiting from him in the Rust Belt states. Most certainly he is. And then in Minnesota, with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being on the ballot, Biden only wins the state by around 3 to 4 percentage points, which is way less than his 2020 margin of around 8 points. I mean, even though Minneapolis is trending towards the left, I mean, this is what the polls are suggesting. And if the polls were to be right, I'm not saying they will be. In fact, I don't think they will. I think they're overestimating Donald Trump. But, you know, in this three-way race, RFK Jr. helps Donald Trump. And then in Texas, with the presence of RFK Jr., Trump is winning this state by 9 percentage points. In some cases, he's winning it by 10, cracking double digits. So that's pretty comfortable margin for Donald Trump. And Florida is actually similar to Texas. They're actually polling very closely, and I think they're probably going to vote the same way. I think whatever Texas does in the election, Florida will do the same thing. But obviously, Florida will be called before Texas. So basically, whatever Florida does, Texas is probably going to follow their lead. Now in New York, polls suggest that with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being on the ballot as another third-party option, he actually helps Donald Trump, and Biden only wins this state by 12 percentage points, which was a significant decrease from his 2020 margin in the state of New York he's passed 20 points. Now he's only winning it by 12 points. In some cases, it's within single digits of 9 or even 10 percentage points. So that's how close polls think New York will get. And you saw this back in the 2022 midterms as an example. Lee Zeldin almost won this state. It came within 5 percentage points on the governor's level. So if it gets that close, maybe Trump has a shot at getting it close in 2024, even though he's more than likely not going to win this state. So there you guys go. This is the finalized map between this three-way race with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being on the ballot. Trump wins to Joe Biden's 225 electoral votes, which will send him off to retirement, most likely. So this is the map with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being on the ballot, being present. It significantly benefits Donald Trump. Now, this is the complete opposite of what RFK himself said, that he is slightly hurting Trump. The polls say otherwise, and the polls say that RFK Jr. is wrong on that claim. So people are, 70% of Americans, I believe, actually don't want a rematch between Trump and Biden, and they are looking for other options. And with whatever's going on with Israel, Hamas, or Gaza, that's definitely, 100,000 people in Michigan voted uncommitted. And I think they could turn to a candidate like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And if they do that, I think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has a decent shot at actually cracking 15% of the vote. And, don't be surprised if he even gets 20%, really, because, most people don't want this rematch. And I know a lot of people that will vote for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So let me know what states you agree with, what states you disagree with. Like I mentioned, this is not my prediction. This is what the polls say with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. being on the ballot. And one last final reminder before I end out the video is to subscribe and click the bell so you get notified whenever I upload a video instead of missing out on any of them. And also, we have memberships, so if you are looking for that, it's pinned in the comment section down below.